Howdy, howdy, folks, and welcome back to the PI Guy channel. So, you want to be a private investigator? Do you have what it takes to be a private investigator? Do you even understand how glamorous it is today to be a private investigator? We will discuss these questions and more in today's video, so hang on, folks. Here we go. First, let's jump into our Wayback Machine and go all the way back to 1749 in the good old United Kingdom. Way back then, the Bow Street Runners started their adventures as the oldest reported official private detectives. The Bow Street Runners were paid lucrative retainers by their clients to help confront and deal with the post-war crime wave that was occurring there. Normally, we think of Eugene Francois Vidocq, a Frenchman born in 1775, as the first recognized private investigator. Vidocq, yes, I did check the pronunciation of that, inspired many authors, including Victor Hugo and Allan Poe. Vidocq founded Europe's first private detective agency and is considered as the father of modern-day criminology and to be the very first private investigator. While France may have been the first country to sport their very own private detective agency, by the mid-1800s, the United Kingdom, United States, and other countries had established PI agencies as well. The best-known PI in the U.S. is probably Allan Pinkerton, who eventually formed the Pinkerton Agency. Pinkerton himself was a Scotsman who became a deputy sheriff in 1842 in the U.S., then in 1850 became the first police detective in Chicago. Later in life, Pinkerton discovered an assassination plot against Abraham Lincoln, and during the Civil War, he was hired to set up what would later be known as the United States Secret Service. Pinkerton's famed eye logo with the motto, "We Never Sleep," is commonly believed to be the founding of the terminology private eye. Now, why the history lesson, you ask? Well, you got to know where you've been in order to know where you're going. And if you want to lead a glamorous life like Allan Pinkerton, well, folks, you need to know the facts. Now, over the past 150 years or so, PIs have carried many different titles, such as inquiry agents, private inquiry agents, commercial agents, private detectives, private investigators, PIs, and of course, my favorite, professional investigators. There are many private investigators who specialize in specialized fields such as accident investigations, insurance claim investigations, fire investigations, and many others. The types of cases most PIs take on varies a great deal, to be sure. They can range from infidelity cases, locate investigations, fraud investigations, criminal defense, and the list goes on and on. But what you really want to know is how you can lead that glamorous life like Allan Pinkerton did, don't you? Well, first of all, you need to become a private investigator. Now, that can be a bit tricky, and every state has their own rules and regulations regarding the PI profession as well licensing for PIs. I am not going to go into great detail about that right now, as I have covered that in a past video not too long ago, but I will leave a link down below for that video should you wish to watch it after you finish this video. Once you are a private investigator, here are just some of the exciting things you can look forward to in your day-to-day life as a PI. First, let's talk schedules. Like any profession, a private investigator must keep a schedule of tasks and appointments, but unlike a lot of other professions, a PI needs to understand that the schedule set for the day will most likely be fraught with abrupt interruptions and changes. There are the ever-popular client calls that must be answered. After all, how else will you get your next case if you don't talk to your next client? But clients call all day and are not aware of your schedule. They call based on, get this, their schedule. So you must answer that phone when they call, or you most likely will never get that next job. Now, I have tracked and tallied and scrutinized my own success rates on calls I didn't answer, and folks, the results are dismal. About 1/3, if I am lucky, will leave a message if I don't answer. And out of those, about 25%, if I am lucky, will turn into a new client. But for the calls I do answer, I can close about 70 to 80% of those sales. So regardless of where you are, on surveillance, in the middle of writing a report, editing your video, or even if you are watching the PI Guy on YouTube, if the phone rings, answer it. One of the greatest things about being in business for yourself as a professional private investigator is the fact that it is a 9-to-5 job. That's right, folks. You will be working most days from 9 until 5, and most days from 6 a.m. until about 7 or 8 p.m. too. Yep, talk about on-the-job training. This profession gives you plenty of time to learn on the job. I know there are days that you may work less and days you may even work more, but the fact is, as a professional PI running your own business, you will have huge time demands to be sure. Most mornings for me begin with a briefing of the previous day and the day at hand, reviewing my notes from yesterday, making sure there are no loose ends that need tied up, and making that ever fun list of things to do that I will get accomplished today. Of course, I never call it my to-do list. That would just be plain silly, wouldn't it? I prefer to call it my change and do later list, to tell the truth. Nevertheless, I do make that list so I have my loose ends to review tomorrow. It also helps me see what my priorities really are for the day. I often will start my day thinking, gosh, I have to do this and that and the other thing. Then, after my morning briefing and review, I see there are much more important things that must be done first, thus leading to those extra 4 hours after my 8-hour day is done. One of the things I tend to overlook and underestimate in how long it will take to get it done is report writing. I love getting into a case, digging into all of the information, going out and looking for people, places, and things, and all that other fun stuff. But at the end of the day, or sometimes at the beginning of the next day, that report must be written. Now, I will admit, once I start writing a report, I really do enjoy it. Report writing is almost an art in the PI industry. The report must be written in a way that anyone reading it can understand it. That requires proper verbiage, a good summary, good details, and photos with good descriptions for those that are visual readers. Another thing I often overlook, or should I say, pass it on for later. Okay, sometimes I procrastinate. But that task that must be done is the accounting or the bookkeeping. I often find myself needing to enter invoices and send them, write checks and mail them, and enter other accounting details. While not so glamorous, it definitely is a must-do task. Myself, I try to do all of my accounting on one day a week. For me, it's Monday. But sometimes I need to adjust and pay some bills on a new schedule. I know I have spent a lot of time on a short history lesson and going over some of those, well, not so fun things a PI might have to do. But not to worry, there are more exciting things a private investigator does, so let's dig into some of those. A lot of PIs conduct surveillance, and a lot of that surveillance starts in the wee hours of the morning. That means you need to get up bright and early, 4 a.m. some days, gather all of your super secret PI surveillance equipment, and get out the door. For those doing surveillance, all of those other tasks like report writing, accounting, and other office work will most likely have to wait for a non-surveillance day or be done after your 10-hour surveillance shift is over. Yep, I said 10-hour surveillance shift. I know most surveillance jobs are 8 hours, but that is 8 hours on surveillance. Then when you account for travel time, vehicle prep time like fueling, washing the windows, checking your equipment, you do check your equipment before you go out on surveillance, don't you? Add all of those ancillary things up and voila, it is usually going to be at least 10 hours a day. But that is okay, no worries. There are 14 other hours still in the day. We have plenty of time to get everything else done, don't we? So you are out on surveillance, writing a report, working on a neighborhood canvas, whatever the case is, and then suddenly, out of the blue, your phone rings. Now you know you need to answer it, so you pause what you are doing and you answer the phone. The voice on the other end starts telling you about the terrible things going on in their life, and you suddenly find yourself scrambling for a notebook and a pen. You start to take notes, give a lot of verbal gestures like mm-hmm and things like that to ensure the client knows you are listening, all the while still trying to watch your subject that you're doing surveillance on or going over the list of houses you still have to door knock or whatever. The client talks for 2 to 3 minutes, which feels like an hour and a half given all the pressure you are under, then asks, what can you do to help me and how much will it cost? Now it is time to shine. Show off all your listening skills and basically give the client a quick rundown of what you can do based on the things they told you, and you need to reiterate those things back to the client, then give them a quote over the phone. Now hopefully you have seen my video on how to price your PI jobs, and you know by now, do not just quote your hourly rate. You should have a good idea of how many hours the case will take, how much travel will be involved, and you provide them with a firm retainer fee quote and let them know what they get for that retainer. Then you tell them you can get started right away. All you need to do is send a contract and an invoice, and you are good to go. Next, you give the client your email address, ask them to send you some info for the case and the contract, and then you let them go and you cross your fingers. Then you find yourself suddenly back in touch with the reality of the case you are in the midst of, and you continue on. And you know what, folks? That interruption may happen 2 or 3 times a day, or it could only happen 2 or 3 times a week. There is no way to predict when clients will call. Now you get back to your office, you take a deep breath, and you start in on your report, your video editing, or whatever needs to be done. Then suddenly your computer chimes at you, and you realize you've got mail. You open your email. There's the email you were hoping for from your next client. Now you have to write a report, edit your video, get your photo stills, and you have to put together a contract, send an invoice, and review the new customer's information. Not too bad, right? You are 10 hours in for the day, and now you have 4 more hours to go, and then you can head home. But wait, there are those other to-dos, or what will probably soon become to ignores, so you can add them to your list tomorrow. For a professional private investigator, time is your biggest commodity, folks. You need to be charging for all of your time utilized, and you need to manage it ruthlessly, or it will manage you. But what about the glamour, the glory, the excitement, you say? Well, you have just discovered what even Alan Pinkerton went through way back in the day. Trust me, folks, there are going to be those cases that you will remember all of your life. There will be those follows, the chase scenarios you sit and tell all of your PI buddies about, as well as your family and friends when they ask for an exciting story about being a PI. But at the end of the day, to me, the most exciting thing is the fact that I am running my own business. I get to call the shots. I make the decisions, and the real excitement is when it all comes together. When I land that big job and get that huge retainer, then the adrenaline rushes in as I start making the plans for the case. Or when I am reviewing the discovery for my new criminal defense case and suddenly I see the smoking gun, the one thing that if I can prove it to be true will prove my client's innocence. Or the contract with that new law firm or insurance company or whomever that will ensure I stay in business for years to come. But in between those glamorous and exciting moments, it is business as usual for me. Now listen up really closely. If you want to hear 5, count them 5 winter surveillance tips in less than 3 minutes, then check out this video.